I gave up everything for her, my city, my dreams, even my name. But then I found out she never loved me. She just needed someone to destroy. I know how ridiculous that sounds. I know how weak it makes me look. But when you love someone, really love them, you don't think about what you're giving up. You think about what you're building together. That's what I believed. Her name was Vanessa. I met her the summer I turned 29. I was living in Chicago then, working as a junior architect at a small but prestigious firm. My life was quiet, predictable, structured, exactly how I liked it. I wasn't rich, but I was respected. I had just finished designing my first solo project, a boutique hotel in Wicker Park, and it had gotten attention from Architectural Digest. I was climbing. And then, Vanessa. She wasn't like anyone I'd ever met. Bold, intense, unpredictable. She worked in interior design, freelance mostly, but had that rare charisma that made everything seem urgent and exciting. I met her at a gallery opening of all places. She was standing in front of a giant steel and glass installation and said, "This looks like something someone with commitment issues would design." I laughed. She didn't. She asked what I did. I told her. She asked if I was successful. I said I was getting there. She tilted her head, smiled in a way that felt like a test, and said, "Let me know when you are." 2 weeks later, we were inseparable. It moved fast. She moved fast. Within months, I'd stopped going to Thursday trivia nights with my friends. I stopped returning my mom's weekly calls. She said they didn't understand our world, our pace, our vision. I started seeing the world through her eyes, more intense, more alive, more fragile. She made me feel like my life in Chicago was small, too safe, too mediocre. Real creators, she told me, don't live in the shadows of old buildings and committees. They burn down limits. By that winter, she said we should leave. Start over somewhere warmer. Somewhere new. She said I had too much talent to be stuck drafting minor skyline edits for clients who didn't understand my genius. And when she said our future was waiting, I believed her. So I left. I walked away from my firm, my loft apartment, and the skyline I helped shape. We moved to a smaller city on the West Coast. She said it had potential. I thought she meant the city. I realize now she meant me. We changed our names. Not legally, not at first, but professionally. She said we needed to rebrand ourselves. Vanessa became Nessa Vale. I became Luke Vale. We're not just people, she said. We're a brand. We rented a tiny house near the coast and began pitching ourselves as a design duo. Full architectural and interior integration. Modern soul for modern spaces. She handled the clients. I handled the blueprints. She was a genius at packaging our narrative. I was the one sweating over CAD drawings at 2 a.m. The first year was hard. Money was tight. My credit took a hit. But I believed in us. And eventually, it started working. A developer hired us for a high-end condo project near the water. Then another. Word spread. Our Instagram took off. We started being invited to speaking panels, then design expos. People started calling us visionaries. They thought we were this unstoppable creative power couple. And for a while, I believed it too. Then came the Breville project, a massive luxury complex commission from a tech billionaire who wanted something timeless but disruptive. A once-in-a-career opportunity. It was our biggest job yet. Multi-million-dollar scope. Nessa was brilliant in meetings, selling the dream. I stayed in the background, doing the actual architectural work. The stress nearly killed me. But when that first foundation was poured, I thought, we did this together. I didn't notice the cracks, not in the concrete, but in us. Until the day she didn't come home. She said she was in LA meeting investors. But I checked her email by accident. She'd left it open on the shared desktop and found a hotel confirmation. Same dates. Different city. Different name. I confronted her. She laughed. She said I was being paranoid. That the room was for a client. That she didn't owe me a travel log. And then she turned it around on me. said I was the one being controlling, that I didn't trust her, that I was threatened by her independence. I backed off. I felt guilty. I told myself I was overreacting. That was the start of the unraveling. But the truth didn't fully hit until the night I overheard her on the phone. She was in the backyard, pacing in the dark. I had just stepped outside to take out the trash and stopped cold when I heard her voice. "He thinks it's all his design," she said. "He thinks we're partners." I can't believe how easy it was. Give him praise, rub his ego, and he gives up everything. My blood froze. She kept talking. To someone. I never found out who. Maybe a new investor. Maybe someone she was sleeping with. But what she said next broke me. "No, I don't love him. Never did. I just needed someone with talent. Someone desperate enough to give it all away. He was perfect." She laughed. Laughed. And I stood there behind the fence, in the dark, holding a trash bag full of broken dreams. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there in the dark next to her, staring at the ceiling, trying not to breathe too loudly. Her words kept playing on a loop in my head. He was perfect. I just needed someone with talent. No, I don't love him. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her awake and demand the truth. But I didn't. Because in that moment, I realized something worse than betrayal had happened. I'd become invisible. A tool. A means to her selfish end. She wasn't afraid of being caught, because she thought I didn't matter enough to catch on. And that cut deeper than any affair ever could. By morning, I had made a decision. No confrontation. No begging for truth or apologies. If I had been invisible to her, fine, I'd stay that way. At least long enough to burn everything she'd built on my back to the damn ground. Over the next few days, I played the role of the loving, oblivious partner. I made her coffee. I complimented her wardrobe. I even sat through another client dinner where she called herself the brain behind Veil Studios and referred to me as the quiet technical guy. I smiled. I nodded. I took notes. Because while she was busy lying, I started digging. Our business, our name, our projects had all been structured under a company she formed, Veil Studios LLC. What I hadn't realized until now was that I was never a co-owner. She never added me to the official documents. She told me it was just temporary because of tax purposes. I believed her. She owned everything. The trademarks, the designs, the bank accounts. My name, my new name, was legally hers. But what she didn't know? I had saved every draft file, every blueprint, every design concept, and I had them backed up quietly, securely, under my old name. In cloud storage, she never thought to check. Because Luke Vale may have been her puppet. But Eli Navarro, my birth name, the one I gave up when I rebranded for her, he still had fight left. I called a friend from Chicago, Anna, my former mentor. She'd offered me a spot at her firm a year earlier, but I had turned her down for the dream life with Nessa. I told her everything. She didn't say, "I told you so." She just said, "Let's fix it." The plan? Step 1. Legally separate myself. I filed to reclaim my original name. I began gathering all proof that I had authored the architectural designs under my original professional license, still active in Illinois. Even though Vanessa had filed our projects under Veil Studios, I had left digital fingerprints all over the CAD files, metadata, and revision logs. Step 2. Expose the lie. I dug into our client contracts. Sure enough, in most of them, the architectural signature was required to come from a licensed architect. But Vanessa didn't have that license. I did. And the signature? That was me. Which meant, if I withdrew my license from the submitted documents, those projects would be out of compliance. She didn't know it yet, but I held the detonator. Step 3. Build my comeback. I contacted 2 of our biggest former clients privately, the tech billionaire from Burvell and the real estate firm we worked with on the coastal villas. I told them calmly and professionally that I was no longer with Veil Studios and that the architectural work they loved had been mine, every square inch. And then I offered something better. custom revisions, and future collaboration under a new brand. My name. My terms. They said yes. It all started to fall apart at the worst time for her. She had a major industry panel coming up, a presentation she was giving solo, where she planned to announce a line of luxury prefab design homes. Except, the prototype renderings were mine, created under my license. And I pulled them, officially and publicly, 3 days before the event. I posted a professional statement on LinkedIn under Eli Navarro with a respectful tone. All architectural designs previously credited to Veil Studios were authored solely by me under license ID. I have formally withdrawn all future permissions under that brand. Any further use of my designs will be considered copyright infringement. It went viral in our industry. Quietly, but violently. Suddenly, Veil Studios wasn't the visionary design house anymore. It was a scandal. Vanessa called me that night. She screamed, cried, begged, threatened, switched from "how could you" to "we can fix this" to "I made you." I said just one thing. You never loved me. You used me. So now you get to find out what it's like to lose me. What followed wasn't a fiery explosion. It was slower, colder. Clients pulled out. Sponsors backed off. The panels were canceled. She tried to salvage things by claiming she had co-designed the work. But without a license, without credentials, and with multiple clients confirming I had done the work, her narrative collapsed. Then came the lawsuits. I didn't sue her directly at first. I simply informed the firms we worked with that using my intellectual property without a licensing agreement would lead to injunctions. Several pulled their advertising. Others quietly stopped payment on outstanding contracts. Veil Studios hemorrhaged money. Her curated image online crumbled. Anonymous blog posts started circulating among architecture insiders, some written by Anna's contacts, detailing the truth behind the designs. The final blow came when I launched Navarro Studio, my name, my legacy. I announced it with a project, a sustainable housing prototype inspired by the coastal villas we'd once pitched together, but redesigned from scratch. It won awards. Vanessa sent me one last message. It wasn't angry. It was hollow. You could have been something with me. I didn't reply, because I had become something without her. I thought it was over. I had walked away from the wreckage, rebuilt something for myself, and carved out a place where her lies couldn't reach me. Navarro Studio was growing. I was finally being seen, not as the quiet shadow behind a woman's spotlight, but as the architect I had always been. But I underestimated Vanessa. Because people like her don't disappear quietly. They don't reflect. They retaliate. It started subtly, an email from a former client who said they'd received a tip that I had copied designs from Veil Studios. Then a rumor circulated on an architecture forum accusing me of forging client contracts. Then, an anonymous ethics complaint was filed with the state licensing board. I knew exactly who it was. Vanessa had decided if she couldn't keep me under her control, she'd try to destroy me in public. She didn't care about winning. She just wanted to make sure I lost. And this time, she wasn't alone. There was another name attached to the ethics complaint. Tyson Red. A young architect we'd once mentored. Vanessa brought him on for internship experience 2 years ago. I liked him, trusted him, even gave him access to early drafts of our coastal villa designs. At the time, I thought I was helping him grow. Apparently, he'd been growing all right into Vanessa's shadow. Turns out, after I left, Vanessa started quietly partnering with Tyson. Publicly, she painted him as the new visionary lead of Veil Studios. Behind the scenes, she was feeding him pieces of my old work and passing it off as theirs, rebranded and slightly modified. Tyson had no issue claiming credit. He thought no one would question him. Together, they filed the complaint claiming I had stolen from them, a twisted inversion of reality. I was stunned. Not just at the betrayal, but at the audacity. This wasn't just revenge. It was a setup. If the complaint stuck, I'd lose my license, my studio, everything I'd rebuilt. But this time, I was ready. I didn't respond emotionally. I didn't go public or launch a war on social media. I went to the one place where truth leaves a footprint. Metadata. Remember those design drafts? The ones Tyson allegedly created? I pulled the originals from my old cloud storage. Every timestamp, every edit, every keystroke documented under my name, from a year before Tyson even interned with us. Then, I hired a forensic digital specialist, one of Anna's contacts, to create a professional verification report, the kind that holds up in court. But that was just the beginning. I also discovered something Tyson didn't realize. He'd used snippets of my old CAD files, code fragments, layering techniques, even specific node groupings, without removing my embedded watermarking. I had placed subtle but traceable data tags years ago to protect my work. He hadn't just copied my designs. He had literally dragged and dropped my intellectual property into his files. I took the findings to the licensing board. Not only did they dismiss the ethics complaint against me, they opened a formal investigation into Tyson and Vanessa. The moment that investigation became public, the narrative flipped overnight. Suddenly, they were the frauds. And I was the architect who exposed them. The board suspended Tyson's license indefinitely. All his pending projects were frozen. He issued a groveling apology online, but it was too late. His career was over before it even began. Vanessa. Well, she tried to distance herself. Said she had no idea Tyson had copied my work. Claimed she was misled. But the emails told another story. She had sent him files. Told him what to present. Scripted statements for him. The licensing board didn't charge her with a crime. She wasn't a licensed professional. But that didn't stop the fallout. Her name became radioactive in the industry. Sponsors pulled out permanently. Her social media channels went quiet. Veil Studios shut down within a month. Last I heard, she tried to rebrand as a design coach on TikTok. It didn't stick. Because reputation is everything in our world. And hers was shattered. About 2 months later, I got a letter. Not a text. Not an email. A handwritten letter on cream cardstock, sealed in an envelope with her initials. It was from Vanessa. I almost threw it away. But something stopped me. Maybe I wanted to know what she'd say. Maybe I needed to hear it. The letter read, Eli, I know there's nothing I can say now that won't sound manipulative or hollow. Maybe that's because it is. I won't pretend I didn't use you. I did. I saw your brilliance and thought it could be mine. But somewhere in all of that ambition, I forgot you were a person. A man who gave up everything for me. I can't take that back. I can't undo it. But I need you to know I was wrong. I was wrong to think love was something you could fake until it felt real. I was wrong to think I was the genius in the room. And I was wrong to think you'd stay invisible forever. You didn't just survive me. You rose above me. And maybe that's the justice I never saw coming. Vanessa. I read it once. Twice. Then I folded it and put it in a drawer I never opened. I didn't need her apology. I didn't need her validation. Because I had something better. I had my name back. When the dust settled, I found myself walking through the city with a strange kind of peace. Not the kind you feel when everything is perfect, but the kind that comes when you finally stop running. I didn't return to New York. I didn't need to. Navarro Studio thrived in the quiet confidence of Charleston's rhythm. The same city I had abandoned for her became the soil where I actually grew. And the people who came to us now, they didn't care about flash or fame. They wanted authenticity. They wanted me. I got featured in a regional design magazine, nothing huge, just a clean 2-page spread with photos of our coastal housing project. The title read, The Architect Who Left New York and Found Himself. Funny how the world loves a comeback story. But this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclamation. It was a warm Friday afternoon when I walked into a bookstore on King Street and saw her again. Not Vanessa. Maya? She was thumbing through a design anthology, her glasses perched on the tip of her nose. Same soft smile. Same curious eyes. She hadn't seen me. I almost turned around and left. Not because I didn't want to see her, but because I was afraid of what she might think, of what I might feel. But then she looked up, and she smiled like she knew. I walked over. We talked for hours in the cafe next door, laughed about things that had once hurt too much to even speak aloud. She'd stayed in Charleston, working with a historic restoration group. Quiet life, honest work, no illusions, no masks. Before we said goodbye, she touched my hand and said, "You always had the heart, Eli. You just needed to stop giving it away to people who didn't deserve it." I didn't kiss her. I didn't ask to see her again. But that moment, it stayed with me. It's funny how many lives we live in one lifetime. There's the life we're born into, the one we build around someone else, the one we lose, and the one we finally choose. I gave up everything for her, my city, my dreams, even my name. But then I found out she never loved me. She just needed someone to destroy. And for a while, she did. But what she never understood was that when you strip someone down to nothing, no title, no praise, no spotlight, you don't erase them. You reveal who they really are. And I wasn't just the man who loved her. I was the man who survived her, who rose from the ashes and built something no one could take from me again. Not just a career, not just a studio, but a self. A name that meant something. Eli Navarro. Not the shadow behind Vanessa Vale. Not the assistant, the helper, the ghost. But the architect of my own damn story. And now? Now, I don't design buildings for anyone's legacy but mine.